Okay, it sounds like Maureen has started the recording. I'll go ahead and get started on the introduction. So, welcome everybody. This is Brian Yates. Welcome to the Montgomery County MUD number 36 Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, June the 16th, 2021. As in prior meetings, I'll briefly go through the remote meeting procedures and then perform a roll call. So to begin with, need to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded as required by the Texas Open Meetings Act. Second, please remember to state your name before you speak, including the making of any motions. When you're not speaking, please be sure to mute your line. Third, we'll continue the practice of having a roll call to vote on each motion. After a motion has been made and seconded, please wait until you hear your name called and then respond with a verbal aye, a nay, or an abstention. Finally, we need to identify each person who's joining the meeting remotely this evening so that we can accurately reflect the attendance in the minutes of the meeting. I'll perform a roll call for the board members, followed by staff and consultants. When you hear your name or your company called, please respond by indicating that you're present in the meeting. Likewise, if you need to leave the meeting before it adjourns, please announce that you're doing so before you disconnect. Once I've completed the roll call for directors, staff, and consultants, I'll ask for any members of the public to identify themselves for the record. Starting with the roll call for our board of directors, Scott Haynes.
Present.
Jan Price.
Present.
Mamie Polk.
Present.
Pamela Fontenot.
Present.
John Yours.
Present.
Okay, that completes the roll call for our directors. We do have a full quorum present. We'll move on to the roll call for Woodlands Water staff. Jim Stinson.
Present.
Mike Mooney.
Present.
Maureen Bourgeois.
Here.
Shelley Lawson Kennedy.
I'm present.
And Jeannie Scott's in CLE training this week. Do we have anyone else from Woodlands Water in the meeting? If not, we will move on to San Jacinto River Authority staff. Ron Kelly.
Present.
Ed Shackelford.
Present.
Chris Meeks.
Present.
Matt Corley.
Present.
Anyone else from the River Authority in the meeting?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to MUD 36 consultants. Do we have any MUD 36 consultants in the meeting? If not, we will move on to members of the public. Do we have any members of the public present in the meeting? We need to identify you for the record as well. Maureen, does that cover everybody who appears to be logged into the meeting?
That's everybody.
Okay, that'll complete the roll call. Scott, I'll hand it back over to you to begin the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, for starting us out here. That's item 1. 2, receive comments from the public. Since we don't have any tonight, I think that's covered. 3, consider and act on a request for adjustments to or relief from the specific charges imposed by the district. Do we have any requests?
This is Mike Mooney. Nothing for MUD 36 this month.
Okay, great. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that the directors would wish to, that are included in the consent agenda, that they would request to be removed to be included in the regular agenda? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is John.
This is Mamie. I so move that we.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it. John.
The motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. We'll have a roll call vote. Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price,
Aye.
Amy Polk,
Aye.
Pam Fontenot,
Aye.
John Yours.
Aye.
Consent agenda has been approved. We'll move to item 9 on the regular agenda. Receive the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division report.
Good evening, directors. This is Matt Corley. Page 14 of your packet is the Woodlands Monthly Operations Report. I'll highlight the blend ratio fiscal year to date, which is 49% groundwater to 51% surface water, and there were no permit violations in the month of May. Happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the report.
Any questions for Matt?
If there are no questions, I know Mr. Kelling has some comments he'd like to make.
Yeah, we just quickly, we want to appreciate those who participated and provided written comments. I know John provided verbal comments at the Lone Star Board, public hearing last week. In the room, we had about a dozen and a half folks from the Woodlands and about 12 speakers. And like I said, John was one of them. So we really appreciate that. Just a reminder that written comments are still going to be accepted until July the 19th. And that the GMA 14 is scheduled to meet on the 6th to vote on the DFCs. But it's our understanding that meeting's probably going to be moved. We don't know if it's going to be earlier or later. As soon as we find out, we will let you know. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
This is John. When they had the board meeting, Jim Spigner offered to meet with anybody to discuss subsidence, and I did send him a request asking for a meeting.
Oh, good.
Has
Does
he
he-
responded?
No, he has not responded, and in the board meeting, he certainly misquoted a lot of things about the Woodlands that I would like to clear up.
Yes, he did.
That would be
How
awesome.
did the meeting go in general, gentlemen?
The public hearing, they took comments and really said nothing after that. And then, like John said, the next night was their regular board meeting, and they made comments that let's just say we probably would disagree of whether or not they were factual or not.
I think the issue is they're trying to make subsidence a Woodlands only issue.
Yes.
And we just need to keep combating that with this time at the hearing, though, we had a couple people from Conroe, which I thought was pretty good. So we just need more people from Conroe and more people from east of I-45 who are really going to be impacted to get into the discussion process. So we're working on that diligently.
This is Pam. I have a question. From what constitutes substantive comments? I wrote that my house had sunk in the last, I don't know, 10 years since they drilled a water well behind my house. And I know that it has because the cement that was poured for a fence post is now at the surface level of the ground.
Well,
So this involves a foundation repair, the second of which I have made. It don't sound like a complaining resident that doesn't know what he's talking about. So do you want
Pam, I'm sorry, you're kind of cutting out, but I think what you're saying is you'd like to make comments about your own, at your own home with your own residence where you're seeing this occur, subsidence occur. And how would you be able to provide those comments?
She can provide written comments that have a personal view of what's happening at her location and submit those to Samantha Ritter with a heading that these are for the DFC public hearing, and they will accept those until July 19th.
right.
Jim, Pam's had to sign out. I guess she's going to sign back in. Is there someone at the
I will send her an email.
okay, that would be great if somebody could contact Pam about doing that.
Yeah, I'll send her an email and tell her what she can do. Sure.
Okay. Brian, when Pam has had to leave because of connectivity, what is the procedure to continue the meeting?
This is Brian. She's not our quorum, correct? Because we still have Mamie, John, Jan, and you. So we should be
That's
fine.
correct.
Okay,
She's
so
trying
we're
to get
fine.
back on, but we may have some connectivity issues tonight.
We're good with our quorum, so that's not a
Okay.
problem.
She's back.
Pam, I'm sorry we're having connectivity problems with you, but we're going to get, John Yours said he would contact you by email about how to provide those comments that you were discussing just a moment ago.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Because those are definitely type of comments that I think that could be of interest to them.
Sure.
Are there any further questions or comments for Matt or Ron or Chris or those with the San Jacinto River Authority? If not, we will move to item 10, receive and discuss San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division budget.
This is Chris Meeks. This item's on the agenda in case any directors have any questions on the budget as presented.
Are there any questions for Chris?
Will these change the numbers that you had put out earlier about the cost of water?
No, sir, the cost stays the same.
Costs are going to say, okay. All right.
Thank you.
Since we have a new director this summer, just the way explanation of Woodlands Water, the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division prepares their budget first, and once that's prepared and approved by the trustees, then the Woodland, the MUD will have their budget prepared. So this is one that was discussed in concept for approval that Jan will vote on. And then later on, our budget will be prepared for approval by September. That's a very crude summary of that. But we already had a lot of new directors recently, so. Are there any other questions about the budget? If not, we'll move on to item 11, receive the attorney's report.
This is Brian. Thank you, Scott. I have been reporting to boards under the attorney's report for this round of meetings about our transition process from remote meetings to in-person meetings. The governor did renew the disaster proclamation that suspends the in-person meeting requirements under the Texas Open Meetings Act again last Monday, and that is a 30-day renewal, and that's the same renewal that has been reoccurring since March of last year. There's general consensus that proclamation is going to be winding down here before too long, due to, thankfully, the significant reduction in the number of COVID cases, and that the cases have been low for quite a while now. So anticipate that will be drawn to a close sooner rather than later, but we don't know exactly when. We have been in contact with the governor's office and have been assured that we would receive advance notice from their office before the proclamation was lifted, so that we could have an orderly transition of our district client board meetings from remote to in-person. That being said, we are going ahead and making arrangements anyway to be able to accommodate in-person meetings for districts that typically meet at our office, beginning after Labor Day in September, even if the proclamation has not been lifted by that time. We are looking at a somewhat more accelerated schedule for the transition from remote to in-person in the Woodlands. The trustees voted last week to hold their first in-person meeting post-COVID in July. They also voted to recommend that the MUD boards consider holding their first in-person meetings in August. And that would be an item on your agenda next month to vote on whether to hold an in-person meeting in August. Districts have complete discretion over whether they like to do that or not, but that was the recommendation from the trustees. Understand that Jim has been conducting an informal straw poll with directors to get a sense of their willingness and interest in meeting in person, and by and large that has been a positive response, but there have been a handful of folks who have still seemed a bit reluctant to meet in person. So we're trying to be sensitive to that contingent of people as well, and have more of a phased transition, starting with trustees next month and then the MUDs in August if the boards choose to vote next month to go in person. So you should see an item on your agenda next month about that issue. So that's where we are on the transition process at this point. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them. Otherwise, that would conclude my attorney's report.
Brian, I think I saw, this is Scott, I think I saw in the trustees minutes that there's no provision for Zoom / in-person, that they all have to be, we either have to all be there in person or we have to do it on Zoom. Is that correct?
This is Brian. Under the disaster proclamation, yes. The disaster proclamation suspends certain provisions of an Open Meetings Act statute 551-125 that allows for districts to meet remotely by telephone conference call in an emergency situation if the district, if it's difficult or impossible to have a quorum meet in person. So they removed the suspension of the in-person requirements, removed the provision about, or suspended the provision about the emergency requirement that was very technical and didn't necessarily apply to what we were looking at with COVID as more of an operational emergency. And that allowed for us to be able to meet remotely under that provision. However, a couple important features of that. One, it provides that you can only meet remotely if it's impossible or difficult to meet in person. And if you are actually meeting in person, then you wouldn't qualify to still be able to use the governor proclamation to participate remotely by telephone conference call under that statute. So you would have to all meet in person if you were if you had a quorum present. That being said, there is a separate provision under the Open Meetings Act 551-127 regarding video conferencing, and that statute has been around for a handful of years now. It was passed by the legislature. I feel like it was 5 or 6 years ago, may have been longer. But I remember when it came out, we talked about it, and then staff looked into the possibility of being able to hold meetings partially remotely. What that statute provides is that you have to have a quorum of the board physically present at the in-person meeting location at all times, and then you could have 1 or 2 directors participate by video conference. That requires audio and visual. And at the time we looked at it several years back, staff came to the conclusion that it wouldn't be cost effective to have to acquire the audio visual equipment necessary to be able to comply with that statute. Well, fast forward to where we are now after being in COVID for a year and a half plus, and folks becoming much more comfortable with remote technology, and remote technology, frankly, becoming much more mainstream and accessible and affordable, that the answer may be different now. it may be possible to accommodate 1 or 2 folks to meet under that statute, and we would have to post it separately under the agenda. I saw that the city of Conroe had an agenda the other day that had that provision listed in there. So we may start to see that a little bit more going forward, but it is available and staff is going to be looking at that. But one thing I have been pointing out to boards is that if a district decides to use that statute for future in-person meetings that would allow for someone to participate remotely, a director would not be able to participate by conference call like you can under the governor's proclamation, because under 125, that actually allows for remote meetings by telephone conference call. So legally, that's the provision that we're using right now. Some districts have voluntarily chosen, like this one, to go above and beyond that minimum requirement to not just offer telephone, but also to offer video conferencing. But we do have to have a telephone conference option available to comply with the statute. Under 127, the separate video conferencing statute, the remote directors would have to participate by both audio and visual. And if either the audio or the visual becomes or goes out or is not in place, then that director is not able to participate. So even if you had audio on them, if the visual wasn't there, they couldn't participate. So that is an important distinction if we utilize that statute. So we are looking into it, but no firm decision on that yet at this time. Scott, that answer your question?
Quite thoroughly, Brian. Thank you.
Yep.
Is there going to be a special session?
This is Brian. I'm sure there will be. The only item I think that would potentially relate or have any impact on special purpose districts would be election law changes that we would just have to implement because they'd be one size fits all. But other than that, it wouldn't be items directly related, I don't think, to MUD. And of course, we are working on our legislative summary that summarizes the bills of interest and that have an impact or material impact on the business or operations of the district. And we anticipate having that available for our meetings next month.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. Or anybody else have any questions for Brian? Okay, you're not going to get off, Brian, because you got plenty more things to come up here. Item 12,
yes,
receive and act upon staff information regarding the MCAD Board of Directors election for the term of office January 1, 2020 through December 2024.
This is your opportunity to weigh in on who the special purpose district candidate would be from the Woodlands on the MCAD election. Arthur Bredehoff has expressed his desire and willingness to support and be that candidate. So unless you have another name you'd like to insert into that resolution, we recommend you name Arthur Bredehoff.
Make a motion that we name Arthur as our representative.
This is Jan.
Motion's been made and seconded. We'll have a roll call vote. Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price.
Aye.
Mamie Polk.
Aye.
Pam Pontenot.
Aye.
John Yours.
Aye.
Okay, when do I need to come up? When does this need to be signed, Brian?
It has to be delivered to MCAD first week in July, so we'll need you pretty quick.
Okay.
And Scott, this is Mike. You and Mamie, I do need your signatures on a plat that the Honeycomb Ridge replat needs actually 2 copies, 2 originals. I need one more signature. Okay. I have to do both when you get up there.
Okay.
Are they ready, Mike, now?
Yeah, I actually dropped them off today.
Okay, great. We'll be by the next week to take care of that. Item 13, receive and act on Woodlands Water staff update regarding lease purchase options for AMI project.
I don't know, Brian, I guess really the only update I would have is that you have reviewed the documents and we have transferred those back to Amoresco and the finance company for review. Is that?
This is Brian. I'll defer any discussion to closed session.
Yeah, so we really don't, I don't have anything other than that to report.
So we'll discuss this under the item 17 in just a minute. Item 14, consider an act on MUD 36 retail water and sewer rates.
In your packet is a spreadsheet reflecting some water sewer rates that we worked together with John Yours to develop. And I think, John, Maureen, did you prepare an estimate on the revenue, additional revenue that would generate for the MUD 36?
Yes,
I did. I need to pull that up though.
But I think what John is, you're at about $60,000 below what your budget income was, and I think John has expressed a concern that something needs to be done to try to make up for that. And
these changes will bring in about $90,000 a year. The good thing about it is 44% of our residents will see no increase in their water rates. All residents will see about $1.95 a month increase in their sewer rate. And of course, the people over 4,000 gallons a month will see a little bit more than that. But anybody at under 3,000 gallons a month will only see, on the sewer rate, will see about $1.95. But anybody under 3,000 gallons of residential water, which is about 40% of our residents, 44%, won't see any increase from any of these rate changes. And like we said, Maureen's numbers, we've guesstimated about how the water rates run through the summer. And she's come up with about $90,000, which for the year. If you look at our finances this month, we were $21,000 under water. So we need water.
That, and there'll be a little extra from the nominal amount of commercial customers you have and a little bit of irrigation, which is
Right.
So maybe plus 90,000.
Yeah, a little bit more than 90. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Scott. John, are you proposing that we change these rates before the end of the fiscal year, or?
Yes, I would like to see us change these rates as soon as we can.
Ryan, what's the procedure for the rates?
This is Brian. We would need to add an item to the agenda to amend RNS, whichever the policy numbers are. I think there's two of them, one for water, one for sewer, to change it just as to MUD 36.
So we would be, tonight's for discussion for approval next month.
And I will tell you that the good thing about this recommended rate, it brings you in line with the other MUDs as far as your sewer rate structure. So that's a good thing.
This is Brian. Well, as I look at we've got consider and act on. So, I mean, you could take action if we knew what the rates were here. I guess we got page 23. You could take action to actually go ahead and amend the RNS policies as to MUD 36 to have these separate rate schedules in place, effective as of, and we just have to work internally to determine what the effective date would be. I guess it would probably be July 1st to make it,
Oh,
unless there's a certain cutoff date for bills, it would be better.
Or the June bills.
I would think we would need to give the residents notice.
Yeah.
Excuse me, this is Jan. The other 56% of the residents who aren't going to see any increase, what are they going to see as far as an increase?
On the water rates, let's see, I'm trying to find, we have about 40% of our people are using between 4 and 15,000 gallons a month. And
That's 40 cents a thousand.
their rates will go from 280 to 320. So potentially that's 40 cents. So if you have, so 11,000 gallons a month times 0.4, 1,100.
It-
40 cents times 11. 0.4 times 11. They'd see their rate go up about $4.50 a month.
That's for an additional 1,000 gallons.
That would be total. If anybody in the tier of 4,000 gallons to 15,000 gallons a month would see their water bill go up $5, so say $4.50 a month.
Okay. Are we still the highest water rate in the Woodlands?
Lowest tax rate and highest water rate.
Okay, then another question, when does the increase from the SJRA kick in? That 5%?
September or October, excuse me, the start of the fiscal year.
October 1st.
Mhm.
So we're going to do this for the months of June, of July and August and September,
Yes,
3 months.
3 months.
This is Ron, our fiscal year starts September 1, so our new rates would start September 1.
Oh, okay.
So at that time, we'll have to raise it another 5%. Raise our water rates and sewer rates another 5% across the board.
Those are, yes.
It would just be that component, not the total rate, just the GRP or the surface water conversion fee.
It wouldn't be the 5% across the water rates?
Well, it'd be a 5% increase on the surface water conversion fee, which is just a component of the total water bill.
Oh,
No, well, this Ron, our wholesale rates are going up also, the 5%. Plus
understood.
GRP are going up, so they're both going up.
Yeah, we typically pass through the surface water conversion fee, but the wholesale rates you can absorb in any number of ways.
All right. So in the 3 months, we're going to increase this rate. We're going to pull in what about,
We've estimated
25?
For the months of July, August, and September. Wait a minute, that's not the right sheet. That's not the right sheet. I got to find the right sheet.
22,500.
Okay, for the months of July, we'll get $11,000. August, we'll get $11,000, and September, we'll get $11,000 based on historical water uses during those months.
Based on typical user, so they could be
Yeah.
depending on the weather and irrigation and stuff like that.
So the figure that you said before, we get in about 90,000 a year.
Yes,
Okay, so, but 33,000 is going to be those 3 months.
yes. But now remember, if you look at the financials, this month we were $21,000 negative. And so we're consuming our money that we have in reserve. We can't run $20,000 negative all summer long.
What is blowing up our budget like that?
We've had three things that there's only 3 things in the budget. We've had water service repairs in excess of budget. We've had water distribution repairs in excess of budget. And we had the capital outlay of $30,000 for the AMR integration piece. Those 3 things have caused us to run negative year to date on our budget, where we had anticipated that would be $61,000 or $63,000 positive. We're actually $1,500 positive to this point. And this month we lost $21,000. So water demand was down.
Okay, thank you.
In my opinion, the water rate adjustment this is Scott Haynes, is justified because for the year, we're just about breaking even. But we've lost 20,000 this month, and we have $500,000 reserves in the bank, but we're gonna have to start utilizing that money for the AMR project. So costs are only going up. You know.
I recommend that we adopt the increased rates, and we do it as soon as we possibly can, after we can notify the residents that we're going to be doing this.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? I'll second it. This is Scott Haynes. So we'll now vote on the motion. Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price,
Yay.
Amy Polk,
Aye.
Pam Fontenot,
Aye.
John Yours.
Aye.
Brian, can we make that motion, as soon as possible? That means like when Maureen and the other procedures have been, the policy and procedures have been met and approved.
Well, Maureen, we certainly don't want to adopt it during the middle of a billing cycle. When would it be the appropriate time to begin it?
Realistically, the earliest would be for the July bills, unless you.
Okay, and that would be the middle of July. So if we got a notice out next week, then that would be giving the residents notice that that the bill they get that goes out in July will have the increase with it. So that would be a notice. It wouldn't provide them an opportunity to reduce their water usage if they wanted to try to do that, but it would be a notification that your next bill will have the increase with it.
I think we should do that.
All right, well,
The other option would be to have it initiated the next billing cycle. So, you know, you could say, well, we're giving you a month to adjust your usage if you're concerned about it.
well, update us when we buy in the next meeting when the.
Well, if you wanted to go with the July cycle, we need to make that decision today. So I guess the option is, do you start it with the July bill or the August bill? Either way, we can get the notice out next week.
I make a motion that we do it, that we can put the notice out next week and the July bills get increased with the new rates.
Do we need another motion for this, Brian?
This is Brian. We do need direction on that. I mean, I think that you can have reflected in the minutes that the board concurs that there's no objection to concur that adjustment go into place beginning as of the July bills and have that reflected in the minutes.
And I guess the motion was to do it as soon as possible, and we're telling you that the soonest practical and possible is with the July bill.
Right.
And then this is Brian, then we just reflect that in the minutes. Yes.
Okay.
All right, let's move to item 15, the general manager's report.
A few items to highlight from the trustee meeting. I did report that we are continuing our discussions with TACUS on construction techniques and notification protocols. We are also at the direction from our outside legal counsel helping us with the damages we're trying to recover. We've resubmitted invoices to the 5 prime contractors that were working for TACUS in the beginning January of this year. And we given them until Wednesday of next week to make payment. We put on the invoice, we considered those payments past due. So we'll see what kind of response we get from that. And I think that we're prepared to take legal action if necessary to recover those expenses. In your packet is a summary of HARC's monthly report. There's also a detail of their comments to the Lone Star Groundwater District on their phase 2 subsidence study. Also this week, we're hope to release the detailed report, John, from the group on where to put subsidence monitoring locations throughout Montgomery County. And we'll also be releasing a link to a story map regarding groundwater subsidence and the whole topic that they put together. That's very informative for the public to get them up to speed on this topic. We're still working with developing a short list of lobbyists and consultants to help with any funding that might come available through the Biden infrastructure plan. And I did report that you've got a couple of residents in your neighborhood, in your MUD, that are concerned about the AMI poles, and then another location over by Woodlands Parkway and Kirkendall. So we've identified some alternate sites for those poles, and that is still being vetted, and I'll try to have information back to the directors and the MUDs at some point in the near future to look at all the information and make a decision on that.
Jim and Scott, are we communicating with the residents that have commented about the polls and let them know that we are looking into it?
You know, I have communicated with all of them except for the people that used to be your neighbor. I've not heard from them and communicated with them.
Is there a way to contact them?
If you have their number, you can send it to me.
Okay, I'll check. I thought it was.
I can get it. I can retrieve it. I think I have their email address from back when.
I'll be glad to help out though. Anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Any more report, Jim?
No, that concludes my report.
Okay, any questions for Jim? If not, we'll move to Woodlands Water Trustees report.
Hi, everybody. That's on pages 29, 30, 31, your packet. And it was a fairly straightforward meeting this time, short by current standards. Jim has done his usual job of going through everything very well. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
And Jan, the only thing that I didn't report that I would like to is that a proclamation was approved by the trustees in
Right.
appreciation of the staff work during COVID and the freeze and other challenges. This fiscal year with a one-time bonus stipend or bonus award to go to each employee, and those proclamations were passed out today with the paychecks.
Oh, that's great. Thank y'all for doing that.
Thank y'all for the gesture.
You're most welcome.
Jim, I'm sorry, I'm going back to your general manager's report. Mike, you may help out too. That little piece of land that that was in the district on the other side of 9X3, where they have built some townhomes there in our district. I've noticed recently that they're clearing out land on the other side that's not in our district. Do we know anything about what's going on over there at all, or?
This is Mike. Yeah, that is section 2. It is in your district. That is the section that they paid an extra 25 SFDUEs for here. Back some time ago, we actually just got the bill and actually paid River Authority for that. But there's going to be 3 building condos over there with 10 to 15 apartments apiece.
Okay, I apologize for being incorrect. That's section 2, and it is in the district.
Rogan's Crest, section 2. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any more questions for Jan on the Woodlands Water Trustees report? If not, this is where we will go to executive session and the procedures that are included in Shelley's email. We will put our Zoom meeting on mute, and we will call in this phone number with the access code to continue in executive session. Is that correct, Brian?
And did you receive the spreadsheet from Shelley as well to be discussed in executive session?
I have received it.
Can we get a big yes from everybody to make sure?
Yes, I got it.
Yes, I got it.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I'll be leaving the meeting, so y'all have a good one.
Yes, I will too. Good evening.
Matt Corley,
Okay, this is Scott Haynes. We are moving to item 18, reconvene an open session and authorize any action resulting from closed session. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I've had, like I said, somebody called me and knocked me off the telephone earlier. I just wanted to make sure that I was being heard. Item 19, I'm not going to read all that, but we're going to say consider and act upon items discussed in closed session.
I make a motion that we entertain the option of doing a bond to cover the costs of the meter installation process, and we start that immediately.
This is Scott, I second. Now going to take a roll call vote. Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price,
Aye.
Amy Polk,
Aye.
Pam Fontenot,
Aye.
John Yours.
Aye.
Okay.
Before we move on, and this is late, this is Pam Fontenot. Do we have any idea what the new tax rate is gonna be? With the, moving ahead with the bond?
And the schedule that we were provided shows 1.5 and then 1.25% tax rate. So they don't know anything for sure at this time, but that's what's been included in the schedule I reviewed.
Okay.
With our current 3.5%, this would increase it 1.5 to make it around 5%.
I see. Thank you.
Am I correct, Brian?
This is Brian. That's correct.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay. We have item 20, discussing matters for placement on future agenda. I think the AMI funding option is going to be included, but we already knew that. Jim, I'm signed up to go to the AWWBD conference this weekend. So I think next month we will have to approve the in the agenda approval for me to go. Is that
I think
right?
it's in your consent agenda expenses.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Whoa, excuse me.
You're clear.
I'm obviously not reviewing the consent agenda very well.
Item seven.
One last thing, there's some bylaws in the AWBD way they operate there. They proposed some changes. I think y'all may have gotten some email about it. I was going to go ahead and sign on tomorrow and approve them unless somebody had an objection to that.
Go ahead.
Okay. Is there any other, there's no other agenda items, then we will adjourn. Thank y'all for sitting through all this. I think we're getting some good participation. I appreciate everybody being here.
All right.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Scott.